The following program is a presentation of the Ohio School Boards Association.
Hello and welcome to the OSBA Forum. It's certainly a pleasure to be with you today, especially as we welcome our newly elected and newly appointed board members from across the state of Ohio. We want to thank you for stepping forward to serve your communities. Your willingness to lead, listen, and govern well matters deeply, not just to your specific school district, but to public education across our great state. So as we look ahead to 2026, there's so much to be excited about. OSBA is entering this next year focused on strengthening governance, deepening connections, and ensuring school boards are well equipped to navigate both challenges and opportunities ahead. Together, we will continue to elevate board leadership, advocate with purpose, and support student success in every corner of Ohio. And today, it is my high honor to introduce the leader who will help guide us into this next chapter, our new president, Mary Cleveland. President Cleveland brings a steady commitment to service, a clear voice for school boards, and a deep belief in the power of public education. Please join me in welcoming OSBA President Mary Cleveland. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Mark. I am so excited to be here.
We're glad to have you here at the forum. Thank you for making some time for us today.
Absolutely.
So before we really go into your tenure as OSBA President, we want to learn a little bit about you, the woman behind the presidency. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what brought you into leadership at OSBA.
Well, let me start off. At my core, I am a public school kid still.
Yeah.
And that kid really believes in the power of education and how it opens up doors. I mean, let's start there.
Yeah.
I have been, as growing up, I was grew up in many different communities, went to many different schools. In terms of my career, it runs across business, law, education, and public service. Yeah. With all of that experience, one thing that I've learned is that leadership is not about the position, it's about the people.
Wow. People
coming together, showing their support, listening, and more importantly, sharing some type of common goal. When we have all of that together, that to me is what strengthens public education.
Yeah. You said something very powerful there, that leadership is not about the position, but about the people. When you think about your walking into school board service and public service overall, what drew you into doing that? What called you into public service?
Well, besides for my community who actually physically called me and asked me
is that right?
to consider this opportunity. What actually drew me was when I had the opportunity to really sit down and discover what a school board actually do. Some of that is obviously we're there to support our districts.
Yes.
We're there to support our communities. But most importantly, we're there to help with the next generation. It's the students.
Yeah.
When you center on the students, and I learned that early on, just think about the students in every decision you make. For me, that's what really is the driver behind what we do. Yeah. Obviously we don't do it for the money. We do it because we truly deeply care about the work.
And so now, remind me, President Cleveland, how many years have you been on the Princeton City School Board?
I'm entering my 13th year.
13th year.
Yes.
And so for 13 years, you have seen every side of public education in the state of Ohio. And I think we can agree that right now we're in the midst of some challenging times.
We are.
So my question to you is, what makes you most proud of, even though we're in the challenges, what are you proud of in regards to what's happening at the local level, particularly to Princeton City?
Some of the things that I'm really proud of is our commitment to stability, transparency, and again, making it student-centered. For me, in the midst of challenges, there's great opportunity. And at Princeton, we've done a really good job of looking at every aspect from leadership transitions to financial challenges to community concerns. And we've taken all of that and made sure that we commit ourselves to looking at what is best or what is the right thing to do, not always the easiest thing to do.
Yeah.
In doing that, for us, we've shown our community that we are engaged, and we're going to be there to make sure that whatever decisions we make, again, even if they're not easy, that we're going to do this together and make sure it's what's best for our students.
You know, we were just in Princeton a couple weeks ago to celebrate your inauguration or installation, into office.
Right.
And while there, what was very telling to me was that, and this is for our viewers who may not be familiar with Princeton.
Right.
Princeton is a very diverse area,
Right.
encapsulating a few townships and different things. Tell us a little bit about Princeton itself and how well you all have been able to bring the community together, a very diverse community
Right.
behind Princeton City Schools.
Yeah. Thank you, and thank you for being there.
Yeah.
One of the things that I like to talk about whenever people ask about Princeton, because it is very unique. First of all, we cover 6 different municipalities, so that means that we have 6 different mayors, 6 different councils, 6 different everything.
Wow.
And each of the communities are very, very different. We have from extreme wealth to poverty, and everything in between.
Yeah.
We have 41 different languages spoken, which also brings its challenges. We have from the demographics, we span in terms of demographics. Oftentimes people say, well, how do you make all that work?
Right.
And for someone like me, I don't know how not to make it work because that's all I know.
Yes.
However, because I've had the opportunity to work with so many districts across the state who don't have that as a challenge, some of the things that I think that we do really, really well is, one, we are very, very community focused. What does that mean? It doesn't mean that we're sitting there appeasing at every level. What that means for us is when the hard questions come, we don't shy away from it.
Yes.
When the hard decisions are being made, we don't shy away from it.
Yeah.
We understand that with the good, there is going to be some things that are just not so good, and that's okay, but we don't shy away from it. Our community know that in the midst of it all, they can count on us to be there and share with them with transparency what's actually going on. Because of that, we've built this level of trust.
Yeah.
Every community have to trust you or they won't believe in you.
Yes.
They have to trust the product that you're producing, and in our case, amazing academics for our students. We're giving our students every opportunity possible, even in times when people sometimes believe it's not possible. So that's, to me, what makes Princeton. We like to call it the Princeton Advantage. But the bottom line is we make sure that each of our communities are heard, that they're at the table, and that they're part of the solution.
Would you agree, you talked about that importance of people trusting the board. Would you agree that trust is built over time and with consistency?
Absolutely.
That even as you're facing the hard conversations and hard decisions, there's a consistency in your decision-making process?
Absolutely. I mean, this is not something that's going to be built in a day. The community have to trust the board over all the decisions that we make. That doesn't mean that all the decisions we make is something that the community is going to say yes to, but they have to trust that whatever decisions we're making was the right decision, and that we did it with that in mind. That at the end of the day, for us, was this decision something based on what's best for our students? It may not be the popular approach, but that's okay, because our community know that if they said that they needed to do it, there was a reason why.
Yeah. Talking about strong governance and the importance of trust, particular to the board superintendent relationship.
Yes.
Talk a little bit about how board leadership translates into that board superintendent relationship and how important that is for community investment into what the schools are doing.
Oh, absolutely. One thing to note on that for me is that that's also built over time. When you bring in a superintendent or even a new board member, the first thing you need to do is get to know each other. It's just like any other relationship. And in getting to know each other, that doesn't necessarily mean, like any other relationship, that everything is going to be smooth from the very beginning. But what you do is you keep coming back at it.
Yeah.
You keep talking about it. You make sure that your communication is open. Make sure that you're having it often. Make sure that everyone is aware of what's going on. There are nothing hidden. Again, that's that transparency piece. So in order to have a good board and superintendent relationship, it has to start there. That's where trust is built. Once that trust is built, then you start the momentum on the successes.
Right.
Making sure that you celebrate those successes, both small and large, together, because that's where the momentum really starts to happen.
Yeah. I noticed also when I looked over your tenure, not only are you serving in Princeton City, but you're also serving at the Great Oaks career campuses. And so as a board member, because there's many board members that serve in those same type of capacities on the local board or on the ESC and JVSD's Career Center opportunities, how do you balance all of that in order to be effective in both roles?
I think for me, it's having the support of your family first and foremost, but also the support of the community. For me, I am propelled based on how people respond to what I'm doing, meaning that I have a lot of people in my community who are advocates for the work that I do. They show up often.
Yes.
They call me out on things at times, but they keep me honest in the work that I'm doing by asking questions, hard questions at times. For me, that's where I'm able to find the energy to continue on. It is a lot, but at the end of the day, for me, when I get to the end of each school year and I get the opportunity to see the progress that we've made, to see the staff and how their year went, having those conversations, and most importantly, seeing the students who now move on to the next stage in their life.
Right.
That's the momentum that I need to keep going for the next year.
Yeah.
So each year I look forward to the end of the year so that I can recap what did we achieve this year, and then what are those things that we can do better.
Yeah.
For me, that's what keeps me going.
You mentioned your family, and I did take note when we were at the installation ceremony. They were everywhere, campaign manager included.
Yes.
But, talk to those school board members who, newly elected,
Right.
and so this is the first time they're experiencing it, and describe to them how important it is that you're, the family involvement, and they know why your commitment is so important, not just for your particular family, but the community that you're serving.
Absolutely. When I think of family, my family is a broader family as well as my nuclear family. However, my nuclear family, it's important if you're stepping into this role to make sure that you stay connected. I mean, it has to be some balance.
Yeah.
I truly believe in balance, and I know a lot of times people think, well, does she ever take time for herself? I do. I do. And so anybody who didn't believe let me be the first to tell you I do.
Yeah.
But in doing that, that time to myself, for me, is about my family. So that means that we do the things that normal families do. My family also is very, very supportive of the work. They understand, because I keep them as informed as I keep anybody else of what's happening, why they should care, why they need to vote, why they should get involved.
Yeah.
I use my family as my testing ground for a lot of what I do, and they're open to that. The larger family, I'm using them for the same purpose. Like I said earlier, I really depend on people coming forward and telling me their thoughts, how they feel, not only the community, but anybody within the schools. I mean, I'm listening to anyone and everyone. As my nuclear family will tell you, I'm always there willing to hear and listen, and then from that, take that information and do what I can with it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, as you know, stepping into 2026, officially the president of OSBA, love to hear about some of the priorities that you have for this year during your tenure as leader for the association.
Absolutely. Some of the things that I would love to do or plan to do this year, a couple of things. One, I really want to focus on how do we get our public more involved. I've been sharing the story on why that became so important to me. Last year, our school faced a levy, and it failed miserably the first time. And when it failed, I'm always out talking to people to find out so what do you think? And how can we do better? And, will you support us? And I was taken back by how many people said, one, they thought we had enough money. Two, they felt it was frivolous, we didn't need it, and so forth. And so, again, it failed. We had to come back. We came back, same levy, different message based on that information. This time it became, okay, we need it, and these are the reasons why. Again, one of the things we learned the first time is maybe the transparency wasn't where it needed to be, or at least the perception of it. And number two, understanding school finance. It was an area that a lot of people just didn't understand. And so the questions that they had that first time were valid questions. We just hadn't answered them appropriately. Second time around, we tried our best to answer it, and we were thankful that it was successful. Through that process, though, what I was left with is that after 12 years of doing this, wow, there's a lot of people who still don't get it. They don't understand why is public education important. How do we do this? Why should they even care? And I don't care whether you have students in the district or not. You still should care. So one of the things that I decided this year is that I really wanted to focus on that, really helping our public understand why those of us who are serving, why do we do this? Why is it important to the general person in terms of what happens within their public school? One of the things I share a lot of times when I'm out talking to people is, do you realize that your public school district is probably the largest, if not the largest, one of the largest employers of your community? Does that matter to you? That's your tax dollars at work. Those students that are coming out of those public schools, those will be your neighbors in the future.
Right.
Those could be your employees in the future, employers as well. They are going to be the community. Is it important to you in terms of what happens to them and how they're educated? What about your tax dollars? Your property values. All those things are questions that you should be asking yourself when you dismiss public education. So I want us to turn that around, start to truly be the advocates that we are, get people to know this organization and know the people that are a part of this organization, the 3,500 school board members across the state, and understand, why do we care? Why do we commit so much of ourself to this cause? It's time for us to start to turn that around. So I'm going to start with, we're planning some forums where we'll go out to the communities and actually talk face to face. Myself and Tom Hostler, the CEO here of OSBA. And then also I'm going to start a podcast where I will start to talk to the public about public education.
Yeah, well, let's talk about that podcast because we're excited about it. Correct me if I'm wrong. Report to the office.
That's it.
Report to the office, presented by the Ohio School Boards Association.
Absolutely.
Tell us more about the podcast and some of the subject matter that you'll cover, and maybe even some guests that you think we might be able to see on your podcast.
Absolutely. Well, what the purpose again of the podcast is really to bring awareness to the community so that we together can start that conversation. The goal will be to have guests on the podcast that encompass not only obviously other board members, but any entity that is related to our work, as well as some of our elected officials. The goal is really to have each entity come on and really talk about their part. So for instance, when I talked about earlier the public not being aware of how we deal with finance within education, we're going to have some of our treasurers come on and really talk about finance from a public's perspective. Having our superintendents talk about what's really happening behind the doors, visiting some of the schools, showing our guests really what's happening within the schools that they are paying for. Having some of our students come on and talk about their experience, even some of the younger students who can also talk about the experience. So again, it'll be an opportunity for the public to really understand what's happening at their local school, hopefully generate questions, and give them the opportunity to come out and really get to know the districts that they're paying for.
I'm hearing you, President Cleveland, talk about having forums, town halls, the podcast. And across all of those opportunities is the opportunity for the community to ask questions
Right.
or questions to be posed.
Correct.
You know, sometimes we look at questions as a challenge or
Yeah.
even on some level an indictment. But talk about how it is important for us to be able to speak to the questions or inquiries that come to make sure that we're standing up for public education in the appropriate way.
Absolutely. Again, this goes to, I've had opportunity on many occasions to advocate. I come to Columbus, I go to DC, and I do my part. You know, I'm not just, talking about it. I really am out here trying my best, along with the 3,500 other school board members. As we are doing that, one of the things that I know I keep hearing is we don't have enough public involvement. They're not there to even ask the questions. And then when they come, they're coming when there's challenges.
Right.
We need to change that. If we don't open up the door and give our public a forum or a place, a safe place where they can ask those questions, get those questions answered, we're never going to change this around. It's time for us as board members to figure out ways to engage. They're not engaged in coming to our meetings. We all talk about that. You come to a board meeting, you're lucky to get a handful of people there. If you get more than that, it's because you have a problem.
Right. Right.
That's not to say that they shouldn't be there. So now we need to figure out why. Open up the door of conversation so that we can understand why they're not there. Maybe, and it could be a whole lot of reasons, but until we start that conversation, we won't know.
Yeah, I think it's so important, because oftentimes community members end up being potential school board members.
They do.
At one point, every school board member was a member of the community.
Absolutely.
And so as we look to message appropriately, sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves and say sometimes the questions are challenging,
Right.
and they do feel like an indictment, but it's that opportunity to change the narrative,
Right.
to get the right message out regarding public education. I think that's going to be very powerful.
Yes.
So I think when we talked about it, looking to do maybe about 10 or 12 forums across the state if possible,
Yes.
and welcoming those questions in. So we're looking forward to having those conversations with our communities. And so as we bring it to a close, President Cleveland, leave with us just a few messages that you'd like for our members to know, understand, and take away from our conversation today as we look to an exciting 2026.
Yes, thank you. Well, again, thank you so much for this opportunity. It's been a joy to be here, as always. As we look at 2026, some of the things that I really want us to walk away with is that though it's challenging, and I would be the first to say that public education, we are facing some situations that we have never seen before. It doesn't mean that we can sit back and relax. This is a time for us to come together, come up with solutions, work together in transparency with our communities. It's time for us to ban ourselves and say, this is our schools. This isn't somebody else's situation. This isn't somebody else's anything. It's ours. We pay for this. Not only in our time, but in our money as taxpayers, in our voices with our votes. This is something that we chose to do. So as I look at 2026, I want to make sure that the board members who are listening, that you understand that you are supported. That is OSBA. You are supported in this work. We need to come together in that support because the challenges, again, they are real, but we can't overcome them as long as we stay focused. Let's start by one voice at a time, getting out to our communities and letting them know why they need to also be at the table with us. When we band together, that 3,500 voices now become magnified. I had shared at one point, I'm a data person, so it's always about the numbers. And so when I look at the numbers, I start off with the 1.6 million students that we're there to support in our schools. Each one of those students have a parent or guardian. Many of which are voters. Each of those students also have potentially grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. They also have neighbors, employers that they work for. The list goes on and on. So when you just look at a multiplier, that multiplier is what we need to be getting to, because right now we are in the fight of our lives in terms of making sure public education remains public. So it's time to get to all of those so that we have a stronger voice collectively to make sure that our students get the educations that they deserve.
President Cleveland, we are looking forward to your leadership this year. OSBA is lucky to have you at the helm, and we look forward to supporting your work, which would support the 1.6 million children across our state. Thanks for being with us here today.
Absolutely, and thank you so much again for the work that you're doing here at OSBA, and I'm looking forward to what comes next.
Awesome. Well, of course, thank you for being part of the OSBA Forum today. As you've learned, we're excited about 2026 and what is in store. So join us again for the OSBA Forum, and as we move forward together, we look forward to a prosperous 2026.